All right. Good morning and hello, all my wonderful friends and students. I hope everyone is doing well. Let me check over in our live feed. All right. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? Okay. Let me know over. Oh, there. Hello, Baharat. Hello, Leo. I see, let's see. Rosa, I think Rosa said bye. I think she had to leave. Dari, let's see, all of our wonderful friends that are here. Excellent. Nora, hello, Miss Nora. Wonderful. Well, if you are joining us for the first time or you are watching this video later, welcome. My name is Abby and this is Pre-Intermediate English. And I am coming to you from SCEL, which is the Spokane College of English Language in beautiful Spokane, Washington. So Spokane is the city, Washington is the state, and of course I am in the United States, or we also say America. And where I'm at in Spokane is very close to the Canadian border, so about 2-3 hours from Canada. And I say that because I always have people ask, where's Spokane? And Washington State is the same state as we're with Seattle. So Seattle is the first largest city in Washington State, and Spokane is the second. And once more, hello Louise, good morning, hello Sway. Oh, Jean, hello from Thailand, and I see Eric from Ukraine. Abdullah, hello, he says, I'm a new member, welcome, Jacqueline. And my apologies because we have so many new students joining us today that I don't have time to look through our live feed and say good morning to everyone individually. So I'm saying it to all of you wonderful friends and students and viewers. Good morning. And truly, what's more appropriate to say is good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, wherever you are at in the world. Once more, if you're joining us for the first time or you are watching this video later after it's posted, a few things that you need to know. Oh, hello, Steve. A few things that's helpful to know. First, I always have coffee. Coffee is my favorite beverage. We would say it's my drink of choice. So always know that I will always have coffee and I will always be looking over to my left, your right. And that is because as we're going through our lesson, I have our live chat feed going. And although I try my best to answer all of your questions or any of your comments, I'm not always able to because we only have 1 hour together. And I have, of course, our lesson that we have to make sure we get through. So with that, if you have a comment or a question in our live feed and I am not able to get to it, I want to be able to help you. I want to be able to answer any of your questions. So with that, once this video is posted on YouTube, if you scroll to the bottom and with the comment section, if you have a question, please ask it there and I will do my best to answer any questions that you have. And while you are there, if you enjoy today's video, if you enjoy Smart English and Pre-Intermediate English, make sure to give a thumbs up. And as always, I give all of you a thumbs up because I know that for some of you, it's very late at night and you're staying awake, you're staying up so that you can join us for our English class. And I think that's fantastic. So I hope you are all doing well. All right. So I have to say that it is spring in Spokane and it is absolutely gorgeous. So we know that gorgeous is a synonym, and synonyms are two words or more than one word that have the exact same meaning. So synonym kind of sounds like same. Synonyms are words that mean the exact same thing. So gorgeous is like beautiful or really, really pretty. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Spokane and how beautiful Spokane is in the spring. But I'm going to be using words that we're going to be going over in our lesson today so that it'll all make sense. But first, I want to give you some examples of what we'll be going over and also a little bit of review what we learned the last 2 weeks with must, mustn't, should not, or shouldn't. So spring in Spokane is beautiful. And if you've watched our videos before, I've said that I grew up on a small farm. So we always had lots of animals and we have a huge garden and lots of trees. And so now that I have my own house, I have a very nice big garden that I love. But I have to get up early and water my garden, water my plants. I must water my plants and water my garden. I must, because it gets very warm in Spokane. So especially on Tuesday mornings, I have to, or I need to, get up early so that first I can be here for our live class and see all of my wonderful students. But then I also have to get up early. I need to, or I must get up early so that I have enough time to water my garden. Because when it's hot, you need to, you must make sure that your plants get enough water. And one of the reasons I love Spokane so much is even though it gets really hot, it's not very humid. So there's a new word that you may not have heard before, humid, and that is H-U-M-I-D. Humid or humidity. So humid would be our adjective, humidity would be our noun, and it just means moisture or like wetness in the air. So we know when we're at the beach and it's hot and you're right by the water, because of the water, it makes the air humid, right? In a different way, where I'm at in Spokane, it's very dry. So there's not much humidity in the air. It's not very humid. So once more, it means we would say it's a dry heat instead of a humid heat. And humidity, once more, with moisture in the air, it usually causes you to kind of feel sticky when it's really hot and it's humid. But in Spokane, thankfully, it is not. But it does get hot, which is why I have to water my garden, which is why I need to get up early on Tuesday mornings because I must water my plants. Now, if you're thinking, why is Miss Abby telling us about her garden? Why is she telling us about having to wake up early? Once more, I'm doing that because I want to give you examples and show you what we have gone over last week, should, shouldn't, must, mustn't, and what we'll be going over this week in our lesson, which is have to and need to, and all the ways that they are similar and the ways that we would use them in the same way. So give me one moment. I want to check over in our comment section. Abdullah says, water is life. Yes, water is life. Human beings, so humans, we need water, we need air, and we need food, and depending where you're at, shelter. But yes, you can go without food for a little while. You could live without food for a week, for 2 weeks. You have to have water. You're absolutely right, Abdullah. Water, we say water is life. Looking over, wonderful, JB, hello. Okay, great. Oh, Baharat, namaste. Fantastic. Love it. Okay, let's go ahead and jump into our lesson. So, when we are talking about have to and need to, and once more, this is very similar or can be used in the same way as should or must. And we'll be going over that to show you the different ways. So the small ways they might be different and all the ways that they are similar. So have to and need to. I have to get up early because I need to water my plants. Looking at our examples, why do you have to leave early? I don't have to, but I should. There's our should. I don't have to, but I should. It's late. And once more, I know that it's late where some of you are at. So again, I take it as a huge, huge compliment that you stay up late and join us for Smart English. And I thank you for that. All right, scrolling down. So let's look at our actual form when we break it down. So need to and have to, those are not modal verbs, but they're used in a similar way. So if you're taking notes, let me give a pause, give you a moment to look at that, and I'll say it again. Need to and have to are not modal verbs, but we do use them in a similar way. Now let's review real quick what our modal verbs are. Our modal verbs are auxiliary verbs that express necessity or possibility, right? So necessity, if something is necessary, it means it must be done or it's absolutely needed. So water is a necessity of life. It is necessary to water plants and make them grow. So it shows, it expresses a necessity or a possibility. So it's possible something could happen. We're not for sure, we're not positive, it's possible. So our modal verbs are auxiliary verbs that express necessity or possibility. Well, what are auxiliary verbs? Auxiliary verbs are verbs used in forming our tenses. So we know past tense, present, future. If you would like more information, the lesson that you can go back and watch is lesson 50, and that will give you more information on our modal verbs and our auxiliary verbs. So, even though we use them in a similar way, need to and have to are not modal verbs. So, let's look at the past and present form of need to. So our examples in our list, let me make this bigger. There we go. All right. So I need to go. You have to study. We need it. So I need to go. I have to go. That's our present. Our past, I needed to go. You needed to go. We, they, so need to, needed to, that's our past tense. Have or have to, it's our present. And had to is our past. So need, present, needed, it's our past. Have is our present. Had is our past. As we're going down, he. Now here we add an S to our needs. He needs to study. She has to sleep. It needs to sleep, or it needs to stop. It needed to stop. She had to study. So real quick, what's helpful with this is just know that need or needs, we use those with singular nouns and our pronouns. So when we're talking about the subjects, so our singular nouns and our pronouns, and we can use this with all of our pronouns except for our reflexive pronouns. So if you're wondering how or when we use needs or needs to, we can use those with our subject nouns and our pronouns, with the exception of our reflexive pronouns. All right, so going back, and I know once more that I have to go quickly through the lesson because, again, we only have 1 hour together, but what's so great with the Smrt live videos is you can go back, of course, and watch them as many times as you need and as many times as is helpful. All right, so continuing on, when we have our negative sentences, that I don't or do not. I don't need to go. You don't have to study. We do not or we don't have to sleep. They didn't have to study. We didn't have to go. So in the same way, when we're making it negative, either do not or don't, or did not, didn't. Once more, I always remind my students that do not shorten to don't, or did not shorten to didn't. Whenever you see that apostrophe, you know that it means one of two things. If it's an apostrophe S, it's like Abby's. So it could either be Abby is, or the apostrophe S shows ownership. So Abby's class. Now for my first example, if it's Abby's, shortened from Abby is, that apostrophe lets us know that we've taken two words and we push them together. So when you're looking and you see an apostrophe, know that that means we took two words and we pushed them together. So that do not is shortened to don't. Did not is shortened to didn't. So for our negative forms and our negative sentences, again, I don't need to go. You did not, you didn't have to study. So that's with our negative sentences. And the same way, more review, he does not need to sleep. She did not have to study or didn't have to study. So give me one moment. I want to check over in our live feed and our comments. Okay, great. Okay, it looks like we're doing well. And again, if you have questions and I don't have time to get to them, just post them once the video has gone to YouTube, and I'll try my best to get to them there. All right, so for our yes or no questions, we know that question mark, when we see that, we know we're asking something. We're asking a question. So yes or no. Do you need to study? Did we have to sleep? Do they need to go? Asking questions, and these are yes or no questions. Going down, continuing with our examples. Does he have to study? Did she need to go? Or did she have to go? So once more, As with my example at the beginning of this lesson, when I was saying I need to get up early because I have to water my plants, need to and have to, I could switch those and then have the exact same meaning. I need to get up early because I have to water my plants. I can also say I have to get up early because I need to water my plants. Have to and need can be used interchangeably, and oftentimes they can also be used with must. We'll review that a little bit and we'll see the different ways we can use those together, or we can change them and it's the exact same meaning. So for our yes or no questions, does he need to study? Did she have to sleep? Now our short answers. Yes, I do. Yes, I did. Yes, you do. Yes, you did. Or with our pronouns he, she, it. Yes, he does. Yes, she did. Our negative, if we're answering in the negative, no. No, I didn't. No, we don't. No, she doesn't. No, he didn't. So again, with our short answers, if we're answering in the affirmative, we're answering yes, yes, we did. Yes, he does. If we're answering in the negative, no, I don't. No, I didn't. No, she doesn't. No, he didn't. Right? I know that that's a lot of information to go over, and once more, I encourage you, so I think it's a good idea to go back and watch these videos. And once more, it's so nice and it's so helpful because once the videos have posted, if you have questions, you can pause the videos, take notes, so you have those good notes to study. Because once more, I know this is a lot of information, but it'll be okay because you guys are so smart. So, with our WH questions, and we know that that's where, when, why, what time, even who, all of our questions start with WH. So, looking at our examples, where did I need to go? When did you have to study? Why did they need to sleep? What time do you need to go? What time does he need to study? So that's with our WH questions. Where, when, why, what time. And as you're looking at this chart, once more, if you go back and rewatch this video and you pause it, you can look at this chart and any of those. You can take any of the words from the 5 different categories. Where do I need to go? You can take any of those words and switch them around and it'll be the same meaning. So once more, need to and have to have the same meaning. Now, how we use these. And here's what I had mentioned before, that it's very similar to must. So one moment, let's jump over, there we go, to should. So should is expressing what our idea is or what our opinion is. We're not saying absolutely this has to happen or you have to do this, but we're strongly saying that that's what we think or that's our opinion. So you should study more. You should sleep more. As a teacher, I always tell my students, if you have a big test and you have 1 extra hour, You could either study for an extra hour or sleep for an extra hour. And I always say you should sleep. You should sleep more than you should study, because if you study enough, you need to sleep, because we know that the way the human brain works, the way our brain, like a machine, functions, works, we need a lot of sleep. So they'll all have students that come to take a test, and they've studied and they've studied so long, but they didn't get any sleep. So I always say you should get enough sleep. So once more, I'm not saying absolutely this has to happen. I'm saying my opinion, my thoughts. You should sleep more. Now, if students are playing video games instead of studying, you should not play video games, or you shouldn't. So once more, there's our apostrophe T that lets us know that we had two words that we took and we shortened them down. Should, should not, shouldn't. Now must is a little bit stronger. We're saying that it is a necessity or it is an obligation. If something is an obligation, or if you are obligated to do something, it means it has to happen. Absolutely. So that it's not just that I should water my plants, I must water my plants. If I just say I should water my plants, it's maybe yes, maybe no. If I'm saying I must, or I have to, or I need to, that's expressing a necessity. Let me look over real quick. Okay, Leo says, in daily talk, I guess you use have to more than must. Yes, I agree with that. Must is a little bit more formal, so that usually English speakers, I could say I must go, but I'd more likely say I have to go or I need to go. Must is a little bit more formal. It's not wrong. And again, must, have to, need to, they're all the same. They all express the same thing. But Leo, you're absolutely correct in your observation that must is a little bit more formal, so that English speakers, we would usually say have to or need to. Really great observation, Leo, and you are exactly right. All right, looking over. Okay. And JB says we should pay attention. No, we have to pay attention. And I like it, JB. He capitalized have to. We know, of course, capitalizing something means extra emphasis. We really mean it. So, yes, of course, you should pay attention, but I'm not your teacher. Even your teachers are not the boss of you. We still have our own decisions to make. And so your teacher can say you should pay attention, but they can't force you to. So again, yes, I could say you should do something or you shouldn't do something, and I'm expressing what I think, or I'm expressing my opinion, my thoughts, what I think is right or what I think is wrong, or what I think is correct, what I think is incorrect. With should or shouldn't, must or mustn't, or need to or have to, it's stronger. It's absolutely stronger. It's saying that this is a necessity, or once more, this is an obligation. You're obligated to do this, right? Great. Let me look over, see if we have any more questions that I can answer real quick. Okay, so Bashir, I hope I pronounced that right. Bashir, Bashe. What about informal writing? What should we use? So informal writing, you could use any of them. It would not be inappropriate to say I must, or I should, or I need to. Formal writing, any of those would be okay. Do know that in formal writing, we don't use contractions. So in formal writing, especially in academic writing, you do not use contractions. So when you're writing, don't put shouldn't or mustn't. Formal writing, academic writing, you need to completely spell it out. Should not, must not. But to answer your question in formal writing, should we use must or need to or have to? Formal writing, you could use any of those. Absolutely. Great question. Just please know that you don't use contractions. So if you're going to say shouldn't, spell it out in your formal writing to should not. Mustn't, must not. Wonderful question. Great question. Alfor in Indonesia asks, what about the negative and need or needn't? Yes. So the negative of need would be needn't. So you need not do that. You needn't do that. Absolutely. Great question. Wonderful. Okay. Yes, and JB says informal writing, such as business, legal, scientific, whatnot, no contractions, no phrasal verbs, no slangs. Yes, please do not use slang. Only time that it's really appropriate to use slang is either in speaking, very informal speaking, sometimes in informal writing, like if you're just sending a text or you're just sending an email to a friend. Slang's okay to use in informal speech, formal speaking, or informal writing, like we know a text or even sometimes emails to a friend are informal, but no. Do not use slang, do not use abbreviations or contractions in your formal writing, in your academic writing. Wonderful observation. You guys are so smart. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right, Dari asks, isn't must stronger than should? Yes, absolutely. Again, should is saying what I think or my opinion. But of course we know that just because I think something or I believe something or that's my opinion, it doesn't mean that you have to agree with me or that you have to think I'm right. So if I say you should study more, I'm saying that that's my opinion. That's what I think. I think you should study more. Must or mustn't, it's saying this is a necessity. This has to happen. Absolutely. So you are 100% correct, Mr. Dari. Yes, must is stronger than should, right? So as a child, right, as a child, my mom would not say, you should clean your room, or you should do the dishes, or you should do your chores. She's my mother. I'm a child. She can tell me what I have to do, what I need to do. So that my mother wouldn't say, you should clean your room. She would say, you must clean your room. You have to clean your room. You need to clean your room. So that once more, absolutely, Dari, should, I think, this is my opinion. Must, have to, or need to, those are stronger. Absolutely. Wonderful observation, Ms. Dari. All right. And Leo says, must is like you had better do something. Especially if your mother tells you to do something, probably a good idea to do it. All right. And sway is must stronger than need to. You know, sway, I think, no, must and need to or have to, they're all equally strong. They're all equally the same. I would say, because again, they're all showing or they're all expressing something that has to happen, must happen, needs to happen. I would say that they're all equally strong. All right. Oh, an actual says, what about ought to? Very good question. Very good question. So ought or ought to, O-U-G-H-T, that's a fantastic observation, my friend. Well done. That is actually not included in our lesson, but perhaps it should be. Ought is a little bit more formal, and we don't use ought very much nowadays. So in modern times, it's more of a word that was used in the past. And that's what's so interesting and so fascinating with language is we would say language evolves. So with time, language evolves. And that just means it changes and it grows. So that words that maybe we used in the past, maybe even words that my parents used or my grandparents used, words change. And where we see that, or one of the good examples of that, is slang words. So nowadays we know that if I say something is cool, C-O-O-L, if I say something is cool, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's cold or it's the opposite of warm or hot. We use cool as slang to say that something's really good or it's great or it's fantastic. So I could say, I really like your earrings. Your earrings are really cool. I'm not saying that my earrings are cold. I'm saying they're cool. I'm using that cool as an adjective to mean great. Now, I remember saying that to my grandmother one time. So again, she's older. These are past generations. So when I said, oh, that's really cool, she was kind of confused because she knows cool to mean cold. That's an example of how language evolves, how language changes, and we see that most in slang, so that there's always new slang words, there's always new slang terms, but language itself continues to evolve, continues to change. And I say that all to let you know that ought, you can use ought and it wouldn't be incorrect at all. Ought is more similar to should, that again, it's not saying absolute, it's giving our idea, giving our opinions, giving our thoughts. And with ought, it's a little bit of an older word that we don't hear or we don't use very much anymore. But fantastic example. Very well done bringing that up, my friend. Excellent. Okay, let me see real quick. All right. Tushara, Ama. As always, I'm sorry. My apologies if I mispronounce names. Let me see. What is the meaning of I would say? So I would say is I'm giving my opinion, all right? Or I'm telling you, I'm expressing what I think or what my opinion is. So that I would say it's a little bit more informal because once more, similar to should, I'm just giving my opinion or giving my thoughts or expressing what I think or what I think should happen. So I would say, so if you're outside with some friends and you go on a picnic, and I use picnic because it's one of our past vocabulary words, and you have a barbecue, another vocabulary word. If you're outside, picnics are outside. If you're outside having a picnic and you say, does anyone have a watch on, or does anyone have their phone? What time is it? We know that when you look up in the sky, you can kind of guess, or you can kind of predict what time it is based on where the sun is in the sky. So if you're having a picnic and your friend says, "What time is it?" I would say it's probably about 4 o'clock. So again, that's what I think. I think it's probably around 4 o'clock. So that's how we could use "I would say." Or if one of my students said, "Miss Abby, what's a good word or a good way to memorize words or memorize vocabulary?" I could say, "You should make a list. Make a list of your vocabulary words and go over your list." I could also say, "Miss Abby, what's a good way to memorize words or memorize my vocabulary?" I would say making a list is a helpful way to do that. So great question. And absolutely, you should, or I would say, it's just expressing my thoughts or expressing my opinion. And know that opinion is just what you think on a specific topic or about a specific thing. So in my opinion, coffee is the best drink in the world. And that's one of the reasons I love coffee, is because no matter where I've traveled in the world, everyone has coffee. So I would say that coffee is the most popular beverage in the world, right? So I hope that answered your question, my friend, and really great question. Oh, Javier, hello from Colombia. And Louise says, "Must is about our internal feelings of obligation." If you feel obligated to do something, once more, that means that you really feel like it has to happen, or it needs to happen, or you need to do something. You have to do something. Absolutely. Okay. And Dapu, what about should say? If we were using it as an "I should say," again, that's a little bit more of older speech or older vocabulary. I should say it's about 4 o'clock. That's a little bit older. We wouldn't use that much more in our speaking unless I'm telling you what you should say. So an actor or an actress in a play or in a movie, if they're saying it in the true way, they're saying, "And now I should say my lines," or "I should say read the script." So that would really be the way that we would hear or we would use should say. Although I see what you're thinking and I see what you mean, because in the past, people would use "I should say," "What time is it?" "I should say it's about 4 o'clock," instead of "I would say it's about 4 o'clock." They're the same meanings, but "I should say" is much older. It's much older and certainly more formal. So that in speaking, we don't really use it anymore. But really great question. Really great question. And I'm very impressed that you know that as well, because it is older. So wonderfully done. Wonderfully done, my friend. Oh, Sway says you should try a Monster. And Monster is an energy drink. And if you don't know what an energy drink is, they are very popular in America. We know that caffeine is the substance in coffee that we say wakes us up. And energy drinks have extra caffeine. So Monster Monster Energy drinks is a brand. So thank you, Sway, saying try Monster. Yeah, that's true as well. Okay, looking over, and Leo says, is it spring in Spokane? It is spring in Spokane, and it's beautiful. I think yesterday it got to about 83 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not exactly sure what that is in Celsius. I can't think of it right now, but 83 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's perfect weather. It's very warm because, yes, Mr. Leo, it is springtime in Spokane. Okay. Soy says, yeah, Red Bulls and Monsters. And Leo says, I think tea is better than coffee. I do like tea as well. All right, let's go back to our lesson. So have to and need to. So have to and need to, they have a similar meaning to must. So once more, all three of those, have to, need to, must, all three of those could be used interchangeably. They mean the same thing. And they are used to describe obligations or things that are necessary. Necessary, it has to happen. Necessary to do. Let's look at our examples. I have to do my homework. I need to do my homework. I must do my homework. So I have to water my garden. I need to water my garden. I must water my garden. Now, I could say I should water my garden. Now, I would say should because there's no laws. I'm not going to get in trouble with the police. I'm not going to get in trouble with the government if I don't water my lawn, if I don't water my garden. Okay? So, but I should. I should. I know that if I want to have a nice garden, if I want to be able to grow my own vegetables, it's not that I should water my plants. I have to. I absolutely have to. I need to. I must. So that's, again, in another way that should isn't quite as strong as have to or need to or must. I should. If I want to have a nice garden and nice plants, then not only should I water, I have to water. It's a necessity. It must take place. It must happen. Otherwise, without water, my garden, my plants will die. So that's, again, showing a necessity. I have to water my garden. I need to water my garden. I must water my garden. Looking at our second example, if we're talking about this young lady, Michelle. Michelle has to leave soon. Michelle needs to leave soon. Michelle must leave soon. So as an example, last night I was talking to my friend and he lives in California, and I am planning on going and taking just a small trip, we might say a small holiday, and going and seeing my friend. So as we were looking at times and when to buy an airplane ticket, said, well, I get off work, so my work day ends at 4:30. So I could fly out, my plane could leave at 6 because I have to be at the airport by 5. I need to be at the airport by 5. I must be at the airport by 5. If my plane leaves at 6 o'clock, we know you have to be at the airport early, so I have to leave soon. I need to leave soon. I must leave soon. I hope those examples are helpful, and I hope those make sense. Once more, if you're not sure, either watch the video again or go and post your comments or your questions at the bottom of the video once we are done and once this video airs. All right, great. And sure what? Are have to and got to the same? Got to is informal. It has the same meaning, but it's more informal. So we would use got to in speaking, in informal speaking. We would not use it in writing, and certainly not in formal writing. So I've got to go. I have to go. I need to go. Yes. Got to, we could use those interchangeably, so we could use those in the same way, but got to is very informal. Great question. Wonderful question, my friend. And that was Ashur. Okay. So yes, got to would be more informal. And what is the negative of have to? Haven't or have not. But let's continue on because we'll explain it a little bit more. So even though need to, have to, and must can be used in the same way, the one difference is that must does not have a past form. Must does not have a past form. We use had to, or needed to instead when we're speaking of the past. So our examples. Yesterday I had to wake up early. Or yesterday I needed to wake up early. We don't have must as a past form. Now, if I'm talking about the future, I must wake up early. I need to wake up early. I have to wake up early. Informal, I've got to wake up early. We can use all of those because we're talking about the future. But if we're talking about the past, we cannot use must. We would use need to, needed to, have to, had to. So our first example, yesterday I had to wake up early. Yesterday I needed to wake up early. And that could even be recent. So as soon, right now, past, time keeps going. So it doesn't matter if I'm talking about the past as in 1 minute ago, or if I'm talking about the past 1 year ago. This morning, I could say this morning I had to wake up early. This morning I needed to wake up early. It's anything that we're talking about in the past. We use had to for have or needed to for need, but we don't use must because must does not have a past form. All right, let's look at our second example. When I was a child, I had to practice the piano every day. When I was a child, I needed to practice the piano every day. So for me, when I was a child, and again, we had animals, I grew up on a farm. So when I was a child, I had to feed the horses every morning. When I was a child, I needed to feed the horses every morning. Now, if I have horses now, which I don't, but I want horses, if I had horses now, I would say, I have to feed the horses every morning. I need to feed the horses every morning. Because I'm talking about the future, I could also say, I must feed the horses every morning. But when I'm talking about the past, when I was a child, I would say had to or needed to, but I don't have a past form or must. Let's look at our last example. This morning, I had to take the bus because my car didn't start. The same way, this morning I needed to take the bus because my car didn't start, right? So once more, if you're writing notes, and I think you should write notes. So again, I'm not saying you have to. There's no law that says that you must take notes with our videos. But as a teacher, I can say that that's very helpful. So that, yeah, you should take notes. You can go back once more and watch these videos as many times as you want and take all the notes that you would like. So please make sure that you include in your notes that must does not have a past form. We can speak with the present tense or the future tense. I must, or in the negative, I mustn't. And let's review that real quick. So should, the negative should not or shouldn't. Must, the negative must not or mustn't. Okay? So again, I know that's a lot to go over. Almost done. So much great information. Now, here's another thing to know for your notes. Must cannot be used with will or be going to. Okay, we need to use have to or need to instead. So once more, use have to or need to instead of must, because must cannot be used with will, excuse me. Must cannot be used with will or be going to. Let's look at our examples real quick. We will have to pay a tip. We will need to pay a tip. And tip, as it's used here, T-I-P, some countries it is customary, so it is the custom to tip. Some countries it's not. And even between countries that do tip, there might be different things that you tip for. Well, what is a tip? So in America, especially at restaurants, so when we go out to eat, it is customary to leave a tip. A tip is just a little bit extra money that you give to your server, so that you give to the person that serves you your food. You give a little bit extra money to say, good job, thank you. So that if you bought lunch and it was $10, if your server was very good, they did a very good job, the food was quick, the food was good, you leave them what we would say a nice tip. So if it was $10, I might leave $3 for a tip, right? And with tips, it's kind of an informal way of saying either, yes, you did a good job, or no, I don't think you did a good job. So the greater, the higher the tip, the better job we're saying the person did. And again, that's very much based on customs, what is customary in a country, because not all countries tip, and or there are different things that different countries do tip for. So there you go, there's a new vocabulary word for you, tip. And we're not talking about like the tip of a pen. Here we're talking about tip as in money. So we will have to pay a tip. We need to pay a tip. Our second example, I'm going to have to study hard next year. Or I'm going to need to study hard next year. Both have to and need to are showing necessity, are showing that something is important. In America, it's important to leave a tip. And of course, we know that if you're a student, you're at the university, it's important that you study, of course. And finishing up, in questions, when we're asking something, for our questions, English speakers, we usually use have to or need to instead of must. And once more, that's simply because must is a little bit more formal, and in the same way as ought to, it's a little bit older. Okay, so that it's not incorrect to use. It's not incorrect at all. It's just a little bit more formal and a little bit older in our use. So why do I have to eat vegetables? I don't like them. I love vegetables. That's why I have a garden, so I can grow my own vegetables. But in our example, he says, why do I need to eat these vegetables? Our second example, does Leanne have to work tomorrow? Or does Leanne need to work tomorrow? And both of those, with both of those questions and both of those sentences, does Leanne have to? Does Leanne need to? Means the exact same. Is it a necessity? Is she obligated to work tomorrow? We're going a little bit over time, but that's okay. And there you go. Someone asked this earlier. Our negative, right, mustn't. So as we looked at before, must has very similar meaning to have to and need to, but this is only true in our positive sentences. And our negative sentences, they are different. And with that, I have to go to class soon, so I must end this video. I have to end this video. I need to end this video. So it's not just that I should, I have to go teach my class. It's a necessity. I'm obligated to start class soon. So it's not just I should go, I have to go, I need to go, I must go. And we still have a little bit more of this lesson, and it's so important. There's a lot of information. Again, I know there's a lot of information, and that's why, once more, I would encourage you. You should go back and watch these videos again. And with that, Thrishra says, I would say you should give us more information than you present today. Well, I would love to, my friend, but we only have 1 hour's time. So any more information that you would like to know, as I said before, please just go post it at the bottom of this video so that the information that you say you need more of, love to help you with. But we only have an hour and there's so much great information. I certainly enjoy teaching it. I hope you enjoy learning it and watching it. And as always, as I leave you, my wonderful friends and students, I bid you a good morning, good afternoon, a good evening, or a good night. And I will see you again next Tuesday for more Smart English with me, Abby, and pre-intermediate English. Thank you so much for joining us. You guys are fantastic. And Louise, you rock. And Steve, you are absolutely welcome. Now, I must go.
Hi everyone, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our channel. Also, if you want the full experience of being a student in a Smart Live class with things like homework and teacher feedback, follow the link and become a premium subscriber. Also, if you want to see more videos from this class, check out our playlist.